Welcome to the Waves of Change podcast, where we aim to inspire the listener to awaken to their purpose and take the action required to live life on their own terms. My name is Darragh Byrne, confidence and mindset coach, speaker, entrepreneur and humanitarian. I will be sitting down with creators from all walks of life who grew through the waves of change in their lives to be making the impact in the world they are today. We acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation as the traditional custodians of the country we are speaking on today. We recognise their continued connection to the land and waters and thank them for protecting this coastline and its ecosystem since time began. We pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging and extend that respect to all First Nations people who may listen today. So, welcome to the podcast, first of all. Bek Antonucci, my soul sister from another mister. Myself and Bek have been on this journey for the last 2 years together. It's been absolutely immense to witness her evolution, her going above and beyond for herself and her clients, and all the mess, the hot messes and the tantrums that come with it.
What do you mean? I'm perfect. I never have tantrums.
Super perfect. So Bek,
we have been on this journey together from the very beginning, haven't we? That's what makes us, I think I never realized, I'm like, why is our relationship so special? But we really have been side by side through the entire thing.
Exactly. So from around the start of 2020 actually. Bek has been a thorn on my side ever since. But what an absolute honor, what a badass. Bek, without further ado, welcome to the Waves of Change podcast. I didn't take any notes today for you either. Let our hearts and souls sing. What do you think?
Amazing. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm not very good prepared. As soon as I prepare, I'm in my head. And as soon as I'm unprepared, it's just so natural. It flows. It's authentic. It's me just being me. So I love it. We don't need a script.
Exactly. And Bek, there you go. It's a great start. Have you always been like that?
No, absolutely not. I think for most of my journey was around external validation and trying to get everyone else to like and accept me. So I would always be thinking, how can I be? What can I say? Like, what are the right things to say to try and get you to accept me, to like what I'm saying so that you think I'm good. So everything that I did for a really long time was curated and scripted and planned and prepared. Because I used to fear immensely that if I was just the truth of myself and express the truth of myself, that you wouldn't like who I am and you would just essentially reject me.
Interesting. And when did you recognize that you started to get into your head like that?
Oh, I think I knew for a really long time that I was like that, because every time I got your validation, it felt so good. I was like, yes, Darragh likes me. Amazing. All of this work to be something so that someone else will like me has paid off. But what I didn't realize is that acceptance externally is only temporary. So it would remind me to the equivalent of like a hit of drugs. It's great while you take the drug and the hit comes, but afterwards you need the next one. So I was constantly like, oh, well, I worked so hard to get this thing. Like I went through a very big disordered eating journey to have this perfect body. So if you're like, Bek, your body's hot, I'd be like, yes. And then I'd need the next person to say it and the next person to say it and the next person to say it. So as soon as that kind of hit wore off from the validation, I realized this is not sustainable. This is actually not happiness. It's just temporary. And as soon as it's taken from me, it feels like my world is ruined. And this is actually very unhealthy mentally. So I didn't understand fully what was going on, but I knew it wasn't good.
Wow, that's a huge opening. I just want to commend you for that and being open and honest, which I know you always are. I will take it back to your childhood first of all. What was life like for you growing up? In Perth.
Oh, I have such a cutesy, lovely family. I was born in England. We moved here 6 months after I was born to Perth, Western Australia. I was like my dad's world. My mum is the sweetest. Like she's like a buttercup human angel.
She's so funny.
I don't know.
You
In my house,
torment her. For anyone listening, get onto Beck and her stories. Fucking hilarious. Your poor mother. I don't know how she still is your mother, to be honest. I would have thrown her in the ocean a long time ago.
she reckons she has very broad shoulders and just so much patience. Even my housemate said, you and your sister are definitely like a seed of your father's because your mum's so like calm and patient and nothing bothers her. And the three of you are just fiery. But no, cutesy family upbringing. My little sister was born 4 years later. She was my best friend. Hardworking parents, not wealthy, didn't come from a lot of money, but always had everything that we ever wanted. Dad worked so hard, saved so hard, took us traveling often. So I had a really sweet, very protected upbringing. Dad didn't ever want us to get hurt. So he was kind of like the helicopter parent that if I fell, he would have caught me before I could scratch my
Where I am close to the edge of that. I'm sort of helicopter, but I always miss whenever they fall. So there's there's a lot of tears and a lot of screams before I, console them and the whole lot. Bodie is hilarious. We call him the headbanger. Honestly, no matter what way he falls, he lands on his head. No matter what he does. Yeah. And he just goes, oh, and the lip comes down. Yeah, it's hilarious. But
and you're like,
then,
I'll give you anything you want.
yeah, straight away. Chocolate. Well, not for him, but Fia back in the day, he used to be. Well, more now today, now that she knows how to negotiate.
Oh,
Fucking hell,
get it, girl.
they learn fast. And they dig
I
their
wish
heels
Auntie
in.
Beck was around. I'd be I'd be the naughty auntie. I'm like, ask me this and this.
Yeah, 100%. You're the double trouble. You're the full Antonucci. I can't imagine being your father growing up, but say it was hectic. No, but with a sweetheart,
Yeah.
Going into, what was your school years like?
So that's where it really all began for me in school. I was bullied to the point of attempted suicide. And so that was really where my entire journey began. I went to a prestige all-girls school. The girls were nasty. The girls were really mean. I was screamed at every single day at school for being disgusting and ugly and rank. I was very studious. I wouldn't get up at assembly to receive awards because I was scared that I would get yelled at by the entire year group. I wouldn't go to my homeroom. I joined every single sport team so I didn't have to sit alone. I avoided, that school was definitely 5 of the worst years of my life.
Wow, that is incredible because, well, not because, but it's for me. I don't know. Obviously, because I'm a boy, a man. I've never heard. I know I heard of it, but to hear from somebody I love that, that level of bullying, but in women and girls, I didn't think it was that much of a thing. How did that type of stuff make you feel?
I mean, I actually attempted to take my own life. I just hated myself. I didn't understand, like, there was nothing that I'd done to be worthy of being bullied. I didn't do anything bad. So I was just like, just me, who I am, is obviously this disgusting, awful, unworthy, terrible human. And at the time, you just think, as a young teenage girl, you think, if I can't fit in here in the world, where in the world will I fit in? So that's where a lot of people pleasing traits would have come in. Like, I tried to, like, how can I be to get them to like me? And the only reason I wanted them to like me is so they wouldn't try and hurt me, because what I didn't realize at the time was I would look at women and see emotional pain. And because I then decided that life, like exiting life entirely, would be easier than enduring the pain that they yelled at me and the embarrassment and the shame that came from that every day. Physical harm came from that, because I was like, emotional pain equates to me really just wanting to exit entirely. And so I was just, to begin with, because my parents taught me, if you have nothing good to say, don't say it at all. So when these girls would scream things at me, instead of turning around and defending myself, or, whatever it is that I could have done to claim my space and protect my energy, I turned around and walked away, thinking that that was being the bigger person. But my internal narrative was, maybe I am all the things that they're saying. Maybe I am rank. Maybe I am disgusting. Maybe. And so that became the thought process. Like, everything that they're saying is who I am now.
Wow, wow, deep. I'm curious, were you the only one in the class or the year that was getting that type of treatment from them?
No, I've connected with quite a few women since then who said, I was told by the teachers that our year was actually one of the worst years ever.
Wow.
One of the teachers shared with my mum that she'd never experienced bullying to this extent. My mum actually went to the school. I didn't know this at the time. My mum told me years later. I had one friend and in the year group, and our homerooms were by last name. My last name was A. My bully's last name was B. So she was in my homeroom. So I would walk in and she would scream at me, and it was just like horrifically embarrassing. Our homeroom teacher in year 11 was this like sweet little Asian man who was really submissive. So he really didn't even know how to deal with it. While these girls were
Especially
yelling,
girls.
my mum went into the year to the principal and asked the principal, would she change the year groups for me for our homeroom so I could sit with my friend, because mum was scared that I wouldn't make it through the year. And they did that. I got to school the first day of year 12 and I was paired up with my best friend, and it was like the best thing that could have ever happened. I didn't.
Relief.
My mum I found I found out years later my mum coordinated that.
Wow. And with can you explain what homeroom is? What is that?
So homeroom is, you have all your different classes, and then you have your main class where you start in the day. You have certain classes, I can't even truly remember, but you like start there and you end there. You start in homeroom and you finish in homeroom in a private girls'
In
school.
the day,
And then,
yeah.
yeah, and then you switch between like science and maths and all the different sport and all the different other classes. But every single day you have that same consistent homeroom.
Wow.
And my bully was in that, like that. She was in there with me, making my life a bloody living hell.
Do you know where she's at? Like, have you ever heard of seen of her since school or even today?
Yeah, she reconnected with me when I was 21 on Facebook, and I sent her an email sharing my truth with her, and she sent me back a really heartfelt apology. Like a really heartfelt apology. And so I fully accept that she's a beautiful human now. And, you know, she was going through her own stuff, and she was being bullied by other people in her home, and so many different things that amounted to what happened between us. And I've 100% forgive her, but the trauma still exists.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
even though I forgive the bully, that belief around like she was the main person, and then it also felt like I had an entire year group of women against me. So this created sisterhood wounds. This has made, you know, when I go into groups of women where I'm not the leader, there's still that inner 14-year-old that's scared of, are they going to do that same thing again? So that kind of ego facade wants to come up to protect, versus allowing me to soften and try and lean into friendship. There's always this part of me that's like, show up in kind of your alpha female in case someone wants to try and throw that same sword at you again. I've got this warrior there ready to protect and defend.
Yes, really, really good point, and thank you for differentiating between the two. Although you've already forgiven her, the wounds still remain, even after all the work that you have done and do every day. That must have been incredibly lonely for you.
Yep, incredibly lonely in those 5 years. And because I didn't face off with it and I didn't deal with it, the same repeat experiences with women where I've been bullied by women, ostracized by women, betrayed, rejected by women, that's happened time and time again in my adult life, that I've had to really face off with it. I've been doing some deep work with it. You know, Sigrid Tassie's, I've been doing some work with her on it the past 2 years to really, I don't just want to lead women because I feel safe leading women. Of course, in the work that I do, I support women to love themselves more. So of course they're going to praise me, love me. I'm a stand for them around the things that they may be scared to say. So I feel safe with those women because I'm making them feel good. But what I recognized was, am I that same amazing leader when I'm not the leader? Am I the same Bek when I'm not receiving praise? Am I still a stand for women there? And I was like, no, I'm actually not. If I'm not the leader, then I don't feel safe. So I've been doing work around that to make sure that I'm in integrity with what I teach.
What an answer, and incredible again. And I think it's beautiful what you've brought up there in regards to you not being the leader. Are you still in the same integrity and still walking your talk as such? Which came up yesterday on a call with a previous guest. Um,
Nice.
can you explain the importance of ownership and owning that part of you? Like not just that, but for everyone, generalization, but also owning whatever it is that is your story.
Yeah, I mean, like I could even use this very thing that we're talking about as an example. I'm still working on this deep sister wound thing. I still feel so much more empowered and so much safer as a leader of women versus just a woman showing up to a group of women where I'm not showing up as the coach or the leader. And that's still my work. The ownership in that is that's my truth. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to sit here and get on your podcast and say, this is who I am. This is the work that I do. This is who I am with women. And I'm also that not when I'm the coach. So the ownership is, hey, Darragh, this is what we're talking about now, the sister wound. And I'm still in my process around it. I'm still not there. I'm better than what I was, but I'm still not there. And it still does exist for me. And ownership is just, I believe, complete honesty on whatever is true and real for you in that moment versus me believing that, oh, well, because of who I say that I am, or because of the job role that I do, or the career that I have to portray some elitist expectation, unrealistic reality of Bek, when the truth is, no, I'm still in my process around this. That to me is ownership. The reason I think it's so important is, well, trust and reliability in relationship is so important. And as soon as you see a crack, you break the trust. And if I don't trust you, our relationship is now on broken grounds. So if I was to be like, Darragh, this is who I am, and I completely healed this sister wound, and then you hear a different experience of me, you'd be like, well, I had so much respect for Bek, but that's not what she portrays. But if you heard from someone like, oh, Bek was a bit funny with me, you'd be like, oh yeah, Bek still has some stuff around women. That makes sense. It's just like deep respect for people to just own who they are and honor the place that they're at with no expectation to be any further ahead in the journey than where you are. And that way shame gets to dissipate. I have no shame around not fully healing the sister wound. There's no shame for me. Yeah. And so I just get to be like, this is the part of my journey and I know what I'm working on.
Beautiful. Perfect. And that's like you landed perfectly into shame. There's also to differentiate because why do you not hold any shame around that?
Why do I not hold any shame around that?
Yeah.
Number one, because
yeah, 1 sec, sorry. So why do you not hold shame? And then also you still recognize that you're working on it.
Okay, so number one, I don't hold shame because I give it a voice. I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm still working on the sister wound, but I'm not going to tell anyone. I'm just going to work on it privately because I actually do hold shame around it. So I give it a voice immediately. Like, yes, this is what's true for me. I mean, I would love to be able to say I'm fully there, but I'm not. And so that's my truth. I recognize that it's important to speak it because there's been many things in my past where I have held shame, my STI journey around herpes, and I held that within. And by holding it within, it made it worse. It made it deeper. It made it harder. It created more shame. It created more resistance to wanting to speak it. It made more resistance, created more resistance around wanting to accept it. It made my journey longer. So I know by speaking it, it takes away the energy there and allows me to just see it for what it is. And then with awareness, I now have awareness around this thing that the sister wound still exists. It's better than what it is, but it's still there. And then I can take some kind of action to move the needle on it to create a different reality for myself. And that's why I do it.
Brilliant. You said something about levels just a few minutes ago. The levels of what I'm seeing and recognizing is how much work you've already done, although it doesn't carry as much of a trigger anymore. You still recognize it's there whenever it's activated in certain situations. But just can you explain to the listener about the different levels of like how deep our healing goes for everybody, not just for you, but in general?
So many layers. I mean, I don't believe that I'm going to get to enlightenment in this lifetime.
What do you mean? You're not already there? I'm already there, motherfucker.
And I don't even think I want to. I mean, being a human is wild, but it's also fun.
I love it. walking, life in the fast lane.
And it's really funny. I'm working with a client at the moment. She's gorgeous and she's going through grief. Her father passed away when she was young. And it was actually his anniversary the other day. And we did a session on that particular day, just coincidentally. I just like had this intuitive feel that we should do a bonus session on this particular day around the grief of her father. And then on that day, she said, just so you know, his anniversary is actually today. This is a new client. I was like, holy moly, my intuition is like on point, because I'm never really like, hey, let's do a bonus session. It's never usually required. Anyway, we had this beautiful session and then she felt like she'd unraveled so much. And then she was just like, I can't believe that we've just like peeled back a layer. And my expectation was like peel back a layer and healing would be under there. I didn't expect I'd peel back a layer and then there's deeper layers. And so that's what I feel is when it comes to our healing, you just kind of like peel back and reveal a bit more of the self, and then you find more stuff under there, and it's kind of like never ending. That's why I also put such a big emphasis on fun and on play, because otherwise I feel like we can get so deep and heavy in our healing journey that we forget to be like fun and light and just enjoy the process.
Yeah.
Well.
Do you know what just literally dropped down as you spoke about that? Do you ever see in the amusements the little bobbleheads that pop up? You get this hammer, and whenever they pop up, you hit them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's what it's like. Each level of trauma that you offload, another one pops up. You're like, fuck you, motherfucker. But anyways, let's transition over into like your modeling career / and everything that came with that.
Yeah, so I wanted to be a fitness model / fitness influencer. I left high school, obviously really triggered and traumatized through my experience with women, went and tried to find safety in a man, got my first boyfriend, was very innocent at the time, was with him for maybe 2.5 years. And our relationship actually ended through physical violence. He punched me with a closed fist in my head, knocked me unconscious. And there'd been little things up until that big eruption that if I hadn't have been young and naive, I could have predicted this was going to happen. Like he punched his arm through my car window in a car park when it was raining, and then climbed out of the window covered in blood, ran away. Like I was 19 and I couldn't believe that I allowed this to happen to myself, but I'm 19, young and innocent, and found my safety in this one man. So after that all happened, I was just like, now I'm scared of men and women. Like women are going to emotionally harm me that will end in physical violence or a physical harm, taking my life, and men will physically harm me, which will then end up in emotional harm. So now I was just scared of the whole world, like where in the world will I fit in? So I decided if I looked strong physically, maybe people wouldn't try and hurt and harm me. So I went to the gym and I got a personal trainer, I got a gym program, and I got a diet. And I thought maybe if I make my body look strong, I didn't do it for the sake of aesthetics to begin with. I just wanted to look a certain way so people just wouldn't try and hurt me. And then what I didn't realize was my body just like rapidly changed within 2 months. I followed this diet to the T that the personal, I was counting out all my almonds, getting all the broccoli.
You didn't account for being only 2 foot tall either, did you?
Weighing the 75 grams of chicken, cutting off the 1 gram of 76. So I just went like full 100 million miles into this diet, and my body rapidly changed. I had this little 6-pack and I would drop all this weight. And what I didn't know was how nice people would be to me. So I trained in this really busy gym in Perth, Western Australia, which was kind of like a nightclub during the day. All the who's who of Perth would train there, women with their makeup on, men training for gladiator and bodybuilding competitions, and just all of these, in my eyes as a naive 19-year-old, all of these perceived really cool people. And now when I walked into the gym, once I changed my body, everyone was like, hi, Bek, hi, Bek, hi, Bek. Facebook had just come out. Wow. Everyone was adding me on Facebook. I was being invited to places. I was being asked out by really attractive men. And I didn't realize at the time, but subconsciously I said to myself, right, if I look like this, people will be so nice to me. People will like me. People will accept me. So that was the start of, I wouldn't call it a modeling career, but a pursuit of fitness modeling, wanting to be a fitness influencer and all of these things, because I believe that having this identity and having this body was my protection from ever having the harm and the hurt that had happened to me prior ever happening again.
Wow, deep. So what was that like, going from literally from one world of people excluding you through emotional violence and actual violence to now being the cream of the crop. Everybody wanted a piece. Everybody wanted to be around you. What was that like in your internal world?
While I was while I was on the good part of the roller coaster, it was great. It felt great. I didn't realize it was avoidance. I didn't realize I was avoiding facing off with the girls who hurt me and the boyfriend. I didn't realize it was avoidance. So while that was happening, it all felt great because I'm getting all the validation, all the love, like constantly. And my world felt just like I was getting all the attention, everything that I thought that I'd ever wanted. And then when I fell off the wagon, when the food, when the diet, when I felt like when I went to the opposite side of the spectrum, when I started eating, which ended up in binge eating, which ended up in bulimia, throwing up my food, laxatives, purging, all of these things. When I was on the roller coaster, amazing. When I was off the roller coaster, depression. So it's like high highs and very low lows, because as soon as I was off the roller coaster or fell off the wagon, it was like all the validation was taken from me. Everything that I'd worked so hard for was gone. And then it was like, oh my God, everything that they said is now true again. In fact, now I've put on more weight. I'm worse than what I was prior.
Wow. What age were you around that time?
19. And my first bodybuilding competition was maybe when I was 21. And then I did fitness photo shoots and fitness modeling all the way up until 25 when I was in and out. But I wouldn't say that I fully healed my relationship with food, even though I still feel like it's an ongoing journey forever. I don't think that you ever fully heal from disordered eating and that it's always a trigger in the back of your mind. I would say I fully let go of the whole fitness thing when I was 30. So 19 to 30.
Wow, 11 years. And just to, can you can you explain to the listener, as a beautiful woman that you are, but also that there's this misconception in our world. I got to see beyond that. The first time I entered the bridge experience, for instance, I shared a space with models, actual models, and really, really beautiful women. And there's this misconception in society that just because a woman is beautiful, she doesn't have any insecurities or fears or worries or any of those things. Can you speak about that?
Oh, I believe that, we see ourselves through the lens of our thoughts. So maybe we see others as really beautiful, but if that woman doesn't see herself if she sees herself through unworthiness, she does not see her reflection. So I know that it's easy to walk past, say, Victoria's Secret's model and be like, she's got everything so easy. If I looked like that, my life would be so easy. And I have been one of these people that thinks that, or even if I was to watch Victoria's Secrets now, I'd probably be like, mate, what do you have to complain about? You got it all. And that's the human. And I work with so many women, so many, in Naked Awakening, I've seen, which is naked yoga, I've seen women that do look like Victoria's Secret's models who hate the appearance of their vulva, of their vagina, and their partners have never seen them with the lights on. They've never had sex with them with the lights on because they're so horrified by the appearance of their genitals. There's something about them that they believe makes them unworthy, and they just hate themselves because of it. So it's very easy to pass judgment just based on a pretty face, but we never know the truth of what that person's going through. And until you spend a day in my shoes, on my side of the screen and on my side of the Instagram, hearing and listening to all the shares that I receive, as if you could have that experience just for 24 hours, I wish some people could, just so you could have a different perspective on humans and on the projections that we throw out at people. But the way that you look, honestly, I know it's so easy to throw it out like it's so easy for that person, but when you get to hear the truth of what that person's going through, you'll have so much compassion for everyone, no matter what they look like.
Yeah, that's thanks for presence in that, because that's definitely what I noticed the moment I got into this career slash no, not as a career, but when I walked through the doors first. Everybody has a story, like absolutely everybody. There's nobody alive that doesn't have one. And the level of compassion that comes with witnessing the unknown of what other people's lives are. And just in regards to people judging others, as comparison is the thief of all joy. Comparison is the thief of all joy. So when you're comparing yourself to somebody else, recognize that they may not be who the pedestal that you're putting them on. They may be comparing themselves to somebody else. And this is part of our job and our purpose here in this lifetime is for people to come back to themselves and be comfortable in their own skin and happy with what they have as a unique emanation of God, our fucking mentor, Preston Smiles, like to say. But yeah, as themselves. So just recognize that the next time, like you, the listener, even you, still for me and you, Beck, but the next time you're judging people and thinking they've all their shit together, because from the experiences I've had so far in this line of work, I don't know anybody who has, not a single. Not a single person. So, Beck, can you tell us about your eating disorder? And yeah.
Oh, when I was in it, it felt like I would never break free from it. It felt like I remember getting so frustrated with Preston in stretch 22. This is when I truly face off with my eating disorder. And I was just like, you don't understand, because it's not drug addiction and it's not alcohol abuse. If I told you I was a meth addict, you would actually be like, okay, this is a real problem. But because I look like a healthy person, I'm telling you that I am consumed by the thoughts of food. Like, food is ruining my life. I am thinking about it constantly. What am I next eating? What is it? How much of it? How much, like, am I weighing it? Is it calorie counting? It consumed me from 19 to 30. How much I'm eating, when I'm eating, what supplements I'm taking, the amount of money that I've spent on different diets and personal trainers and supplements and fad this and just everything. I had tried everything and it felt like it was ruining me, because my frustration was, this is an addiction that I don't know how to beat, and I have to eat food obviously for survival, but I just want to remove it from my life entirely. So, and then when it was really bad, I mean, because I had restrictive ate for so long, when I then did eat, the binges would just be so immense. I can't even remember them, to be totally honest. I feel like I blacked out weekends from my memory of when they were really bad, but I do have a particular memory of I knew that I'd like fallen off the wagon and I was going to go and eat all the food, and then I'd start again Monday. Well, I'm going to start Monday.
Yeah.
And I remember being in like our IGA or our Farmer Jack's and buying all of this stuff. And the woman who was scanning the food, she said to me, "You're having a party." And in my mind, I think I said to her, yes. And in my mind, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to eat all of this food. And when I used to restrictive eat so much, once I kind of like, when I fell off the wagon and decided to eat something, nothing actually tasted good, but I knew that I'd ruined it. So I just kept eating, trying to find the thing that would taste good. Nothing tastes good, but the compulsion to continue eating, it just feels so disgusting and so shameful. And this feeling of, I just can't stop. It was not a nice time.
How did you manage to transition through that period of your life?
Oh, it took a lot of work. It took a personal trainer that really introduced a lot of carbohydrates into my diet, so that I had the belief system at one stage that fruit would make me fat. I was like, feared being fat. That was like my biggest fear. And no matter what I ate, I believed, unless it was like chicken and broccoli, that it would. So I had a beautiful personal trainer that introduced lots of variety into my diet. And I also had a boyfriend at the time who we went on holiday. And just before we were going to New Zealand, and he sat me down and he said, because he tried many things, he knew how much I loved him. So he tried many things up until then. He said, like, if you throw up your food again, I'll break up with you. If you do this, I'll break up with you, thinking that like maybe holding our relationship over it would help, but it didn't. And he was young, so he was just trying. And before we went to New Zealand, he said to me, we're just going to go on holiday and we're just going to eat and just enjoy food. We're going to eat burgers. I think there was this, I can't remember what the burger shop in New Zealand is called, but it's like famous burger store that everyone goes to. So we're going to eat burgers and we're going to go out for ribs and wine and we're going to have breakfast. We can eat some healthy food, but we're just going to be normal humans when it comes to food for 10 days. And then when we get back, we're just going to implement being healthy. like not trying to be a fitness model, not trying to be on a diet, but just being healthy in general. And that was kind of a really big step forward in making some positive change, because for 10 days, for the first time in my life, I actually got to enjoy food because I said that I would, and I committed to him that we would together. And I didn't put on 100 kilos like my head had told me I would. And so it made me realize, you know, I'm really sacrificing so much joy from my life for the sake of this body. And then I put two and two together, that the times that I did have that perfect Fitspo Instagram body, I wasn't happy anyway. So I was like, I'm actually sacrificing all of my 20s right now for this appearance that isn't actually even bringing me anything. That was really the first step forward. The catalyst of really breaking through it was in stretch 22 with Preston.
So two things here. Just want to circle back something incredible that you said. You didn't torture yourself because you gave yourself permission to do it. Can you elaborate on that for the listener, what exactly that means?
Yeah, so when he sat down and said, we're just going to go and we're going to enjoy food for 10 days, I set kind of in an internal rule that for that time, I could eat the burgers. I could eat the ribs and have the red wine. And because the allowance was there, there was no internal struggle when we got there. And then he went to the burger bar and my internal world saying, don't eat it, don't eat it, don't eat it, don't eat it. And then I eat it. And then I'm hard on myself for doing the thing that I told myself not to. So just the permission that I'm going to allow myself this experience created so much freedom that there wasn't an internal war going on between do it, don't do it, yes, no, good, bad, right, wrong.
And how important that is to everyday life today in whatever the circumstances are.
I mean, permission is such a huge theme. Permission for me internally, and how people treat me. I feel sometimes when people ask things that overstep the boundary without actually being given permission first. Like permission's played a very big role in my life this year. And I just think it's so important. To feel respected internally and with other people in your life. Permission is just so important.
So cool. What would you say to anybody that is going through this right now?
Find someone who has broken through what you're in right now and ask them to pave the way forward for you. Like, talk about it so that you don't hold shame within. I used to be disgusted by people who enjoyed food. I used to be embarrassed to see people see me eat. Like, I had so much shame around the thought of what if I was to be seen to be enjoying food, that would make me disgusting. And notice how I use the word disgusting.
Yeah, comes back to the skill.
Yeah, it comes back to the school. So that was the very thing that I was avoiding. So my invitation for you is to ask yourself what you're avoiding. Ask yourself what you think you're going to get on the other, like what experience you think you're going to have on the other side of this perfect dream body that you're sacrificing all of your life for. And if you know that it's ineffective and costing you a lot of time, quality of life, quality of relationships, and you have that awareness, like, talk about it and find someone who's broken through what you're experiencing right now. So that they can pave a new way forward. And when they do pave the way forward, make sure they're paving you a way that is like slow and steady, maintainable, sustainable, and not just a diet. I used to think that my solution was in diet and exercise. My solution was in the mindset work. I'm still super healthy now. I reckon I've got a hot little Fitspo body now. But I don't even try. If I could go back and tell my 25-year-old self, I'm like, this is what you got at 33. But I've done the mindset work. So food is just a neutral energy for me now. It's not making me fat. It's not good or bad. It's just a neutral energy, and I value to be healthy. Exercise is not a consequence for me now. It is, and I have my certain standards around fitness. I have my certain standards around food. And because I've done the mindset work on my standards when it comes to fitness and food, and that's everything that I learned in Stretch 22, that's what's created this kind of freedom and permission when it comes to food and fitness for myself, which has created so much healing for me.
Cool. Two things I want to highlight. First of all, the recognition of the disgusting and how you spoke of yourself, and how you connected it back to your school days and your school childhood. For the listener, whenever you notice a certain pattern going through your life, you get to highlight that and because a lot of the time we unconsciously live from these programs. And if you ever notice that you're like saying the same thing to yourself over and over again or over a number of years, you get to understand that that's a pattern. If you want to break that pattern, 99% of the time it's from your childhood. So if you really want to break that pattern, I suggest, Bek, what would you suggest? You start with wherever the story started in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, do the work from where the seed of the thought was planted, because that was, so notice how when I binge ate, I would feel that was disgusting. If someone was to see me enjoy food, I would feel that it's disgusting. Like, that's specifically the word that I use. When I tested positive for the STI, disgusting. And that was almost my realization of like, oh my God, I've created all of these experiences because I was avoiding the experience that I had when I was 14 and truly going there and facing off with the time the seed of the thought was planted. So I keep recreating these disgusting experiences in my life until I go back there. And that final straw of the STI was the place where I was like, I'm not creating this in my life anymore.
Brilliant. I have a question, but I'll leave that one
My
till the
point
end.
is, like, for your listeners, you can follow it like a map. If you can find the thread and be like, wow, there is a common pattern here. And it's not the outside world creating it, and it's not things that are happening to me. I am creating it all through my thoughts.
Jackpot. Bek, seeing as you transitioned already, it's a great segue into the STI. Do you want to elaborate more on that story?
Yeah, so I test positive for the herpes virus, and that was probably the hugest catalyst in terms of my self-love, self-discovery, self-acceptance journey. I found out when I was 25. I left a partner that I really loved. In fact, I cheated on him after a really turbulent last 1 year in our relationship. And the man that I slept with, even though he promised me he was STI free, passed on the herpes virus to me. And it was the most shocking, horrific, painful experience, where I felt like everything that I had worked for, I thought that my appearance was the thing to get people to like, love it, and accept me. And now I test positive for this stigmatized virus in society. I felt like no one would love me now. No man would ever love me again. I felt like my looks got ripped from me, that society would reject me. And essentially everything that I had been avoiding my entire life blew up in my eyes. So it was a very, very shocking first month when I first found out. Again, I was suicidal again, because I felt like I didn't actually attempt this time, but I thought about it because I was like, where in the world do I fit, and who is ever going to love me with this?
And what did that lead to for you? And you spoke about the first month. What came after that?
So I got really mad. So I stayed with the man who gave it to me because I was in fear. I was like, who is going to accept me with this? He says that he loves me. He accepts me. So I'm going to stay. If I stay with him, I never have to tell anyone. My biggest fear was, if someone was to know this about me, my life will be over. Like, if I tell someone who tells someone, then all of Perth knows it about me. My reputation will be ruined. I can't have that. So I kind of went into like, fix it. And then I also got really angry. I got angry, and I wasn't angry at the man who gave it to me. I was angry at the ex-boyfriend, because I loved him so much, and I like begged him to love me right. And I'd broken up with him twice in integrity, and we had so many different things, specifically around our intimacy and our sex, that when I did eventually cheat, even though from a place of personal responsibility, I cheated, I blamed him. I was like, it's your fucking fault that I cheated. If you had have just listened to me and loved me the way that I essentially begged you to love me and give me what I wanted from you, I never would have gone there with that man and got this. So I got really angry and really resentful and really spiteful and really bitter. And I hated men. I hated men for a really long time. I blamed men for this, versus I decided I was not taking responsibility for any of it. I was going to blame the ex-boyfriend, and I was just going to blame men in general for doing this to me.
And how long did you stay with the new boyfriend for?
A year on and off. It was really hard because he was such a brilliant man, like a beautiful man. He was like, He was meant to be a rebound. He was the ultimate rebound. He was a bad boy that just loved me so much, but was wild. We would go partying and traveling, and he just wanted to experience anything. And he was full in celebration of me. He just adored me. Anything I did, he would just celebrate it, encourage it. And I was just like, whoa, I'm so getting love the way that I deserve. And we were best mates, but underlying that, I resented him because he took my freedom of choice away, to the point that I often think, I wonder if he had have just been honest from the outset. I was so curious about him. I wonder if he'd just been honest from the outset and given me the empowered choice. Maybe I would have been like, I'm so curious about you. Let's explore this, probably with protection, even though a condom isn't 100% safe proof anyway. But I would have just loved the choice. And because that was taken from me, just no matter how brilliant he was, and I speak about him so highly because he is brilliant, I just resented him. And I just couldn't create love for him from that resentment.
So yeah, are you saying that you asked him before you had sex? Did he have anything?
Yeah. He promised me he got checked a week prior. Now, the thing is, Darragh, when it comes to Australian STI checks, to get tested for the herpes virus, you actually need a blood test. So he came back from holiday a week prior and he said he got an STI check. Maybe he did, and it was a urine sample, and the urine sample would have come back clear for like chlamydia, but herpes isn't included in that. So he may be someone who is like 70% of the population, an asymptomatic carrier of the herpes virus, which means that you are a carrier of it. You can pass it on, but you're never going to show symptoms. Well, if you never show symptoms, you're never going to know that you have it. And if you don't get a blood test and you just get a urine STI check and you tell your sexual partner, hey, I'm clear, well, you're actually clear of everything in the urine test, but you have no idea if you're clear of herpes or not.
In the blood test.
I double checked with him, like literally the moment before we had sex. I was like, can you put a condom on? And he said, don't worry, babe, I got checked last week. And my intuition in that moment said, he's lying. And I did it anyway.
Did you, during that, did you say 76% of people have, is that what you said?
70%, they say. I mean,
70.
I don't think the stats on herpes are ever going to be accurate because we don't truly know, but they say that 70% are asymptomatic carriers.
So it's 70% of asymptomatic carriers. Why is it such a stigmatized virus?
I mean, I have my own beliefs about it. I believe that it has been put here intentionally to suppress humanity, especially given how common it is. I think maybe because it's something that can be passed sexually, and it can also be passed orally as well. The rate of transmission, if you get a cold sore on your mouth and you perform oral sex on someone, the chance of transmission is the exact same as someone who carries it genitally. So really, it doesn't need to be stigmatized. Obviously, cold sores are really common. It's a skin-to-skin contact virus. I believe they use the word disease, like STD, like it's disease mongering to put fear into people. There's honestly nothing to be fearful about. And it's really sad that so much stigma does exist because people stay living in shame. They lower their standards in relationship, feeling like the person that they desire would never accept them for it. So they end up in these unhealthy, toxic relationships, or they do what I did with Ben, and they stay in a relationship out of fear, not out of choosing him. That man was beautiful and he deserved to be chosen by a woman who wanted to choose him. I didn't choose him. I chose him out of fear. And that's what's reflected back to me with all the people who engage with me on social media is I'm with this person because they gave it to me. I don't really want to be with him or her, but I'm scared that no one will accept me. And I feel like when it comes to relationship, what a really sad place to live from. Like anytime that Jake and I go through anything that's turbulent, he'll turn around and say, do you choose me? Anytime my clients are sitting there with their partner, the first question I have for them is, do you choose him? And if the answer is not a crystal clear yes, then it sounds like it's a no. And so to be with a partner because they gave an STI to you, but not because you choose them, I think that's a horrible place to build a foundation of a relationship from.
A question just popped up. I just spoke because I don't know if I noticed it so much anymore, but I definitely noticed that over my time that, you know, you see people that are in miserable relationships for all sorts of different reasons. Security, the fear of judgment or fear of being left alone. There are a few fears, but what would you say to people that are choosing to be in a relationship based on fear?
Ask yourself why you're staying and what the fear is. And are you willing to face off with that fear? Like if the fear is I'm choosing to stay with this person because they gave me an STI and I'm scared that no one else will accept me, face off with that fear.
Mm.
And my other thing would be for that person, would you be willing to express to your partner that you're staying with out of fear, whatever the fear is? Would you be willing to say to them the truth? Like, I'm actually choosing you because I'm experiencing so much, for example, the people that resonate with me, I'm experiencing so much shame around being on the receiving end of the herpes virus. And I feel like I'm mostly choosing to stay in this relationship because I'm scared that no other man will ever accept me. Say that to him. And hopefully he sits down and says, babe, it doesn't sound like you choose me fully. And I think maybe we get to have some time apart while you navigate this.
So good. So good. I love chatting to you. Pocket rocket. But something come up for me as you were speaking again. What would you say about crystal clear communication in relationships and friendships, anything, but the power and the value in true, honest, crystal clear communication?
Oh, so important. And I think, you have to remember, and I say this to my clients all the time, like, I wish I was as articulate as you. When I'm triggered in my relationship, I am actually not a super highly effective communicator. So that's another thing I want to create ownership
Knots
around.
and tears and everything. Like,
shut up. When there's emotional attachment, like I'm obviously emotionally attached to my relationship with Jake. Therefore, when I'm triggered and then past wounds come up and things get triggered, I'm not like Coach Bek where I'm so eloquent. So you get to be human as well. And you actually get to sit there and work through the challenging things and say the challenging things. Like Jake he's obviously super conscious. He calls me forward where he'll sit me down and be like, I'm a big man. I can handle what you're about to say. Avoiding it's going to make it so much worse. If we speak about it, we can lean into it. We can have a conversation about it. If we need to leave the room and self-regulate and all the things, we can do that. But the point is that it's spoken about. Avoiding it is actually going to create more separation, and saying the vulnerable thing, even if it's not what they want to hear, is actually the thing that's going to create deeper intimacy. Like you can't expect that your relationship, your friendship is going to be all sunshine and rainbows all year round. But when there's challenges, and trust me, for anyone listening, my attachment style is actually avoidant and I'm working on shifting to secure. So my first thought is like, oh, if you maybe have the opportunity to hurt me, I'm going to run. And be like, see ya, too good for you, don't need you anymore. Friendship and or relationship. That is like my default. Until I was like, hold on, why am I like a guillotine cutting everyone out of my life? That's not sexy. And so what's the healing for the avoidant? You got to lean in.
Yes, you got to lean in more and more. The uncomfortable. What's become comfortable in the uncomfortable? Become comfortable in the uncomfortable. Well, what is on the other side of those crystal clear communications? Although they're messy and a hot mess, some people like to call them, but incredibly uncomfortable. What is on the other side of
deeper connection, deeper vulnerability, more rich experiences. If you're with a sexual partner, deeper pleasure, just a deeper, richer, more connected experience with yourself and with others. And that's why I believe like my passion is activating people to express their truth, whatever it is. And so if you're not courageous and haven't cultivated that courage from within to be that, you're going to be attracting people, but not the right people, because they're not attracted to your truth. They're attracted to this kind of like surface level you that's trying to please everyone. Once you have the courage to express the truth of you are, you become a magnet to the people who are actually really meant to be in your space. And that's where deeper connection emerges. That's where deeper friendship, our friendship, our relationship, our soul connection, that didn't come from nothing. That came from me being all of me and you being all of you, and our souls being like, hell yes, you're my person. That's how you
soulmates, 100%. And just to elaborate on that, that's a great point, because when we are too busy showing up with this mask on and trying to be this persona that everybody loves, eventually, as Preston says, is another quote of his. It's not the load that breaks it down; it's the way that we carry it. But the more you lean into everybody else's idea of perfection, just so they like you, eventually that leads to a breakdown, nervous breakdown, and then that fear. So you're living in this trap forever. If they really know who the real you is behind the mask, they're gonna fuck off and not want to be friends with you and all of those things. The
Or if
more
you are living from your facade, you'll attract people who are attracted to the facade. And then you're sitting there with this human, like, I don't even like this person.
what the fuck
Why
are
am
we
I
doing?
sitting here? Like, what? This is empty, meaningless conversation. Well, your magnet was your facade. So, of course, you're not going to attract people that align with you.
Mm-hmm. And it doesn't end well in the end, put it that way. It leads to anxiety, a fear of being caught, depression, being disconnected from the self, the truth of who you really are. And then a whole host of other things where we drink alcohol and take drugs and in order to escape that reality or in order to fit into some other reality that we are not. So thanks for that, Beck. Tell us what you do today and how you arrived into that. Well, you've already
I
told us to start, but yeah,
well,
tell us.
I call myself an emotional wellbeing coach for women. I support women to activate their voice so that they can express their truth from a really courageous place. And how I do that through so many different ways. But I support women essentially to break through the thing that they thought made them unworthy in society's eyes. For some women, it's the herpes virus. For other women, it's disordered eating. For some women, it's their bank account or the debt that they're in. For some women, it's the appearance of their genitals. For some women, it's the fear of rejection and just feeling like they're never going to be good enough for the friend group they desire or the man that they desire. So I really support women to go there and face off with those ineffective thoughts so we can cultivate that courage for them to express the truth of who they are. And like we just spoke about, from that expression, they then become magnets to everything they've ever deserved, desired, held space for. Because once they're the expression of their truth, they attract the guy. Once they're the expression of their truth, they attract the aligned friendships. Once they're the expression of their truth, they show up more powerfully in their business to call in those aligned clients. What was the next question?
Just blown away by the answer of that one. The next question was going to be, what was the most common thing, the most common pattern you see in all of your clients?
Fear of rejection.
Fear of rejection is the underline 100%. Of everything.
100%. Am I good enough? Am I good enough as I am? Will I be rejected? Herpes virus or not, some of my clients test positive for the herpes virus. Many don't. The emotional experience, and this is one thing that I love to draw home, for humans, we're actually all so much more similar than what we are different. And no matter how it shows up, what vehicle it shows up in, whether it's herpes or whether it's disordered eating or whether it's being broken up with and cheated on by the love of our life or who we thought was the love of our life, the emotional experience of it afterwards is so the same. I experienced shame around this thing. I was in love. I thought I was in love and he was actually cheating and having an affair for the past 3 years. And now I feel like it's because I'm not pretty enough, skinny enough, blonde enough, any of the enoughnesses, and I'll never be accepted for who I am. So I have to try and be something other than this to get everyone else to like, love, and accept me. And then if I was to put myself out there, maybe they'll reject me. And so I'm scared to be told no. Because I'm scared to be told no, I'm scared to ask for what I want. And because I'm scared to be told no, I'm actually scared to say no to people. So I don't have any boundaries. So really, I'm just like this shell of a human trying to like tiptoe my way through life so I don't upset anyone, so no one upsets me, because emotionally I don't have the resilience to handle it. That, in a nutshell, is all my clients, no matter what they've gone through in their life.
Yes. And constantly going around again, disconnected from who they truly are, which leads to that this is in who they truly are. And the further we are disconnected from ourselves, the more these types of things trigger and upset us. And a high percent of my clients as well, and people today, you sort of notice from speaking with them, but they don't know who the fuck they are. They don't know who the fuck they are. And the invitation here is to be real with yourself and have a real look at yourself. Is how you're living every day uh, something that you chose yourself? Or was it something that was habitually chosen for you because of the family you grew up in, the friends you hang around with, or what society deemed as cool at the time? Are you just continuing to live out that habitual process? And with that, Beck, I'm going to ask you about breaking free from your story. What was what was not the catalyst, but what did it feel like for you, both in the build up to knowing you're going to become the butterfly? But yeah, what was that whole period like?
Oh, there was a lot of resistance to begin with. I was like, I'm never, ever going to talk about herpes on the internet. No one is ever going to know it about me. I would rather die. Like at some stage, I was like, I'd rather die than have anyone know this about me. And I went on this huge journey of like plant medicines. I'm very pro natural health. I'd researched everything with natural healing properties. So I was like doing ayahuasca, going, getting blood tests, doing Sananga, getting a blood test, doing Kambo, Harpe, all the things. I'd seen every mentor, I'd done all the workshops. And by the time, and I'd just done this with the intention to heal herpes so no one would ever have to know it about me. Not to go on a self-discovery journey and not to be able to teach it to anyone else or create a coaching business. I just wanted no one to ever know this thing about me. And then after 7 years of this, I was so skilled in everything that I knew. I was like, I'm a beast. Still no one knew about the herpes until I did Stretch 22. And I'd done courses with Preston in the past where I hadn't told him. That's how much shame existed for me. I was like, I'm never telling him. I'm never telling anyone. And I was watching other people around me blow up their lives. And I thought to myself, I know everything, but it's not landing. It's not integrating. Why? Why am I still at war with money? Why am I still suffering financially? Why is my business failing? I had an activewear at the time, an e-commerce store. Why is just like why is my relationship with men shit? Why is everything just like an uphill battle? My body stuff is still here. I'm like, I know everything. Why? And so that's when I did the work with Preston to unlock the voice. And when I spoke it and decided line in the sand, I'm going to choose me now. I hadn't broken through the shame fully, but I decided I actually am going to decide that no matter what, I don't care who knows this about me because I'm going to choose me with this thing because fighting it is creating more internal suffering. And so I went live on Facebook, told all of my Facebook I test positive for the herpes virus, told them my story and freed myself. And the moment that I unlocked my voice, it was like I was looking for a piece of my puzzle that had been under the carpet and the rest of the puzzle was there. It just didn't fit fully. And as soon as I unlocked my voice around that, it was like the puzzle piece fit and everything started to fit together. And that's where my activewear crumbled, my coaching business blew up, met Jake properly, even though he'd been in my space for 4.5 years, just like everything, just money started to land. Like obviously money just didn't arrive, but I worked hard for it and the clients came to it, but created a successful coaching business quickly. Everything just kind of fell into place.
Can you explain to the listener what it felt like to break free from that?
You know what? After I did it, I sat in the park and I was like, now what? I was like, it's kind of like,
oh my God, the sky is not falling now. What the fuck is going on?
I was literally looking around like, where are the doves?
I'm great. I'm great.
I thought that there was going to be like some that, you know, Jake always calls it like my future fantasy. And I do fantasize about these moments. And then it happens. I'm just like, oh, well, that huge thing that took me 7 years to do. And now it's done.
Yeah, no, it's done. I'm still a Jack Russell.
Do you know what happened? Funny story quickly. I did it on Facebook in my house and it jumped from my house Wi-Fi to my phone Wi-Fi halfway between the video. And then I went to upload it and only the last few minutes of the video uploaded. And I remember sitting there being like, I just told the whole world that I have herpes and it didn't upload properly. And I feel like this was a test from God to see if I really chose it because I was so upset and disappointed. I was like, I'm going to have to do it again. I was like, it's not going to be the same. I've already done it. And I got on my desktop and I was like, please, a whole video be uploaded to my desktop. And for whatever reason on my Facebook desktop, the entire video uploaded. and I got to download it and share it to my Instagram. And that was kind of the like God just being like, hey, bitch, did you really want to do that? Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
I was like,
Kicked,
you cheeky bugger.
kicked over the edge. Can you, in regards to personal development, how important is that to you in your life?
Oh my God. I've spent a small fortune on it the past year because I love it so much.
Yeah.
Like, it is the thing. Jake is like, stop spending money on personal development. I'm like, no, always do
Take
it.
my money.
It's been the thing that's brought me acceptance. It's been the thing that's brought me, I hated myself. I really thought that I would never find a place where I fit. And now I've found a place where I can just be all of me, like the great parts and the not so great parts. I have friends now that I can call with the things that I'm upset about, experiencing shame about, frustrated about. I don't need to sugarcoat things. Like I called you the other week, Marco Polo'd you the other week about something.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's just like true friendship, being ourselves, and it's community that I actually have yearned for my entire life, where people see me and celebrate me and call me forward, and in a community where we're all winning, just being ourselves and being our own truth and creating businesses out of it. It's just personal development changed my life, and I will be forever grateful for it. I love this work. That's why I teach this work, and that's why I invest in this work, because my integrity congruence is, if you teach it, you also are a student of it. Like, I'll be a student of this forever.
A student and also creating leaders. Part of my soul's purpose is to create leaders from men and women, so they can go on and be the leader in their family from an embodied place, not the wounded masculine of, I have to hold it all together and I'm the pillar of the house and all the stresses that come with that. But yeah, and something come into my mind as you were speaking, just in regards to the vision that we're sold as children in school, in regards to education and going to the school, going to college, taking up all the debt, getting a job, a secure job, might I add, and then finding the partner, having the children, and then retiring later on in life. So in regards to the college aspect, or the intellectual learning of life in the first place versus your personal development journey, what would you what does that sound and differentiate like to you?
I mean, I went to uni 3 times and I dropped out 3 times. My dad wanted me to go to uni. My dad wanted me to be a lawyer. So I got accepted into law school. Then I tried to do accounting, a double major in accounting and marketing. Then I went back, because I was a personal trainer, to do chiro. And as soon as I'd spend like an hour in a classroom, I was like, this place is not for me. But life has handed me like my own life university. I was given a job role that I was absolutely not qualified for 2 years, as the operations and marketing manager of this franchise cafe brand. Like, literally the universe was like, here's the deep end, see if you can swim. I don't know
Into
how.
the coffee head first. Good luck.
I don't know how this shit happens to me, but I was like fitting out cafes, doing marketing plans for the local franchisees, flying to Sydney, doing just so much crazy stuff. That was for 2 years. That was my corporate career. Then I started my activewear, where I was flying back and forwards from Bali and China. And those kind of life experiences plus personal development, that was my life university. University didn't give me anything, except what university gave me was a reminder that I don't want to fit into that box that society said is a safe and right way to go about living. Trying it my way, and trust me, failing forward my entire time, has provided me with skills, tools, resources, knowledge, just like so many things. Even the breakdown of my e-commerce activewear and having to send that to legal and watch a breakdown in a business partnership and how that all unfolded. That was so valuable to me. That could I be taught that in uni? Well, I learned a lot when I was in the experience of it. So life experience and personal development, I feel, if you're going a path less walked, is so valuable. And what is amazing for us now is we have no ceiling over our heads. Our ability to create, our ability to earn, our ability to call in clients, the money, the income. Like, I was on 100 grand. What could I have asked for? 110, and then maybe 120, and what, 130, maybe. But was I ever going to smash anything beyond that? My ceiling is uncapped. My sky is there is no limit. There is an unlimited sky for me. And it's just all to do with my beliefs and what I create and contribute to this world. And the beautiful thing now about what I do when it comes to personal development is the more you contribute, the more impact you have, the more you can receive.
Yes.
So personal development to me is invaluable.
Yes, and just to highlight that as well, the importance of owning your time and all of that, and the importance of owning your time. If you didn't own your time, would you be able to create the life that you're living right now?
Yeah, no, I mean, I learned some valuable lessons through wanting to own my time too early. So when I had my active wear, I wanted to be like this like big dick CEO that was spending money, and I was not. So I quit my job and just put all my eggs into the basket of having an online e-commerce store, thinking that was going to make me all my money, and it didn't. And I had to go back and get some jobs. So I think we speak about this in Kaboom quite a lot, like about being humble and being able to, I see the value in being an entrepreneur and not expecting yourself to be at the top of the mountain when you're at the fucking bottom, and going and getting a job as well to support yourself. But until you're ready to, like, I was a personal Pilates instructor part-time for the first 2 legs of my business, to make sure that my rent and bills and things were covered so that I could operate from a place of abundance. And then once I'd done the hard work, claim back my time, that's when I could quit that job freely, knowing that all my bills were paid, all my expenses were paid, I was receiving, and everything was good. And I learned those hard lessons by wanting to be bigger than what I was too soon.
So good. What would you say to people who are in jobs that they hate?
Oh, go and get a job doing the thing that you can earn the most amount of money for, the easiest, like, your backhand, for example, Pilates. I can teach Pilates. I can teach it all day long. I can earn $100 for the hour teaching you how to do a plank. I'm good at it. I'm a great
You wanker.
You made me need a few planks.
Yeah, the Jack Russell. She snaps again.
I remember being in a toxic work environment for the sake of the income and the amount of stress. I put on weight, I was unhappy, and there was no room for creation or creativity. So when I quit and I decided I was going to start my active, where I tried it 2 times and failed previously and ran out of money, I was like, this time is the time. And I'm going to go and do the jobs that are easy, that are emotionally energy-less. So all I got to do is motivate you. As soon as I open the door, I motivate you. I close the door, you're not in my space anymore. Go and work on my business. Gary Vee is very big on this. Like, go do the thing that creates you the most amount of money so your rent and bills are paid. Do your hustle in the other hours. Then once the hustle starts rising, that's when you can drop the hours of the job, and then you can eventually quit entirely.
Boom. Jackpot. Bek, tell us how anybody can find you. Always fire when I chat to you. Incredible human.
You can find me pretty much anywhere, but come to me over on Instagram at Bek Antonucci with a K, and that's where you'll get the quickest response from me.
Oh, queen. What have you got coming up? Any group programs? What's going on?
I've got the January breakthrough starting January 10th. That is a 4-week accelerated program. That one's specific for the herpes virus, to support women to shift and annihilate their beliefs around testing positive and reclaim their self-worth and personal power. Then in Feb, we have True Transformation, my 12-week women's transformational group journey. And I always have either a 1 or 2 month wait list for my one-on-one clients for my 4-month one-on-one signature method. And I'll be launching a podcast in the new year too.
You're welcome. I'm the first guest. Thank you. Thank you.
Granddaddy in the house.
As she flicks everything across the shoulder. Bek Antonucci, my sister from another mister, little spiritual G, a Jack Russell, I like to call her. All bark, no bite. But Bek, I love you dearly. Thank you very much for coming on today. And I'm looking forward to see what the future has in store for you.
Thank you.
Peace.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye. I think about what the waves of change means to me. I think of a ripple effect, like a drop in the ocean and how far that drop can then ripple out to. And that ripple just keeps going, and it can be never ending and always felt. And sometimes it requires us to be that wave of change. It requires us to be that drop in the ocean, that first drop to create the ripple, for then those rings to start rippling out. And we'll never know how far our reach can go. I'm sure there are lives that I've touched now that I'll actually never really truly know that I've impacted, because I chose to create the change in my life, to be able to drop that ripple into the water, to be able to have that effect on not just my life, not just the life of the people who I have touched and I know about, but those waves of change of all the other humans that impact has hit, has touched their hearts, has changed something for them, so that they can then go and create their own ripple effect in their lives. That is what the waves of change means to me.
Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. If anything resonated for you, please leave a comment below. If there's anyone who may need to hear, please share. I love this. Have a lovely day.